average over the past 2 years than Kansas. The Jayhawks are off to a 6-0 start for the third straight season. But this afternoon starts a brutal week of non-conference competition. The defending Big 12 champs will be put to the test against 13th ranked Kentucky. It's the Jayhawks and Wildcats coming up next on Spectrum Sports. Hello and welcome to Lawrence, Kansas for a top 13 matchup of two volleyball powerhouses. It's the Kansas Jayhawks at 6-0 taking on the Kentucky Wildcats at 5-1. Hello and welcome alongside former KU great Jill Dorsey Hall. I'm Lee Fleizik. Well, this starts just a brutal stretch for Kansas. A tough 6 days. You've got Kentucky. You have Creighton coming up over the weekend. Purdue. Oh, and maybe a eventual conference champion thrown in the mix there too. It's almost like this week needs a theme.
I call it a beast of a week, Leaf. I mean, this is going to be exceptional volleyball. You're talking about a lot of NCAA tournament teams coming in, but look no further. This is a Labor Day special here in Kentucky. All right, the Wildcats are led by a super sophomore in Leah Edmond. What does she bring to the court tonight? Well, she was an All-American as a freshman and even better in her sophomore campaign. The game has just slowed down a little bit, and I am so impressed about her play with the ball control perspective. She's a primary passer. She does so many good things. She's a high riser, though. It's extremely dynamic. She's going to get her kills. She also leads her team in aces. All right, the Jayhawks coming off a win at the Wolverine Invitational in Utah, and Kelsey Payne was a big part of that. No doubt. A first-team All-American performer, the Big 12 preseason player of the year. Oh, she won that award last year. She's so exceptional all the way around from on the front of the center, behind, on the back row. They're going to utilize her everywhere. The Payne train. This feast of a week starts for Kansas. Kentucky coming off a win over number 18 USC. It ought to be a good one. Coming up next here on Spectrum Sports.
Award-winning interface. Award-winning design. Award-winning engine. The Volvo XC90, the most awarded luxury SUV of the century.
This is a story about mail and packages. And it's also a story about people. People who rely on us every day to deliver their dreams. They're handing us more than mail. They're handing us their business. And while we make more e-commerce deliveries to homes than anyone else in the country, we never forget that your business is our business. The United States Postal Service. Priority, you.
Kansas Volleyball is brought to you by Lawrence Memorial Hospital, a proud sponsor of Kansas Women's Athletics, a partner for lifelong health. The Lawrence Memorial Hospital team can help you achieve your life goals. Learn more at lmh.org/partner. All right, the defending Big 12 champions ready to take on Kentucky. Two teams with Final Four aspirations, certainly, and Ray Bichard wanted to up his non-conference schedule, and man, he has done it here. Craig Skinner is the head coach of the Kentucky Wildcats, and what a job he has done there. The program's all-time winningest coach, 12 straight tournament appearances, one of only 9 schools to do that, 3 Sweet 16 appearances. Yeah, they win, and they win a lot in Lexington. A lot of respect between these two coaches. They've known each other for a long time, and what a wonderful job he has done at Kentucky. And you look at the talent amongst their lineup. Madison Lily Hales, actually from nearby. She went to Blue Valley West. She's a true freshman. Keep an eye on her. She runs a 5-1 system. Cass Brown, exceptional in the middle blocker for Kentucky. The Kansas Jayhawks led by Ray Bichard, the Big 12 Coach of the Year again in his 20th season. He has his Jayhawks playing well at 6-0, off to another fast start. And they just seem to keep getting better and better every year. He might as well just stay here for another 20 years. And wonderful job he's done with the program, and this is a big one here in Lawrence. All right, settle in. This ought to be a good one. Kansas and Kentucky. The Wildcats in their blue, black trimmed in blue, and the Wildcats will open with the first point of the match. And no doubt the most physical team that Kansas has faced all season long. You look at the front row, it's not uncommon to see 6'5", 6'5", 6'2" on the front row for the Wildcats. An ace served up by Kentucky. The Wildcats off to a quick 2-0 start. They certainly passed the bus test as you watch the warm-ups. There's a lot of size there, and as you mentioned, a lot of physicality.
And then what they can do is just a prime example of that. They want to get you out of system because then it's really clear on where you're going to set the ball. That last serve was an ace, and now here, look, they knew exactly where Kelsey Payne was going.
Rigdon with a nice save. Diving save there by Gabby Curry. Payne is there for Kansas. Really back to Rigdon, that's on the line. Kansas is on the board.
And I asked Coach Broussard, I said, who has been that player for you? He goes, Madison Rigdon. She's gotten some slow starts, but man, she just does everything for us when we need it. That was a back row tag and perfectly placed in that deep corner.
Tori Miller in now to serve for the Jayhawks. Nice save there from Miller. Rigdon with a nice shot. Dug out of there by Edmond. Edmond now with the swing. Point goes to Kentucky.
Yeah, back row attack. So Anise was trying to bring it on the other side of the plane of the net. It was a good call by the up official. Leah Edmond had room, and she had the room to go. That was across the plane of the net. So I like that call. Point goes over to Kentucky.
Emily Franklin now, the senior for the Wildcats, serves it up 3-1. Avili outside to Rigdon. Point to Kansas.
And that was a beautiful pass, and what it allowed is that timing, right? So Anise pushes the ball out so far. Cass Brown just a little bit late to close because she had to stay true in the middle. She had to watch out for Kelsey Payne behind her. They had all three hitting options open, so that pass really set up that play.
Allie Nelson puts it in the net, so it'll go back to Kentucky.
You talk about Ellie Nelson coming in for the Big 12 Libero of the Year, we lost due to graduation, right? And Cassie Waite. She's done a wonderful job thus far, but missed serve on her first serving attempt.
Leader Rigdon. Nelson was there. Point to Kentucky.
Had just a ball handling error, but broken pass right off the first contact. So Kansas hasn't been in system all that one play early going in this first set.
Really has to run for this one. Rigdon with a nice shot right on the line again.
So it's been Rigdon bailing him out in 2 plays. I mean, this play, she's off on the 10-foot line, and she just utilizes all areas of the floor. Deep corner, you're going to have success. Nobody's there on the defensive side. So wonderful job by Rigdon.
You just see Rigdon start and then stop and then gather herself. But boy, there's no stopping Leah Edmond. She is so strong.
She can hit over the top of anybody. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're going to put out there. She's just that dynamic. And watch how high up she gets here. And the tempo of that ball just allows her that pace to get out there and then her to hit over the top of the block.
Now Edmond will serve it up. Rigdon pounds away. Off the antenna, point to Kansas.
Well, Madison Rigdon, she hit with a little bit more oomph on this ball. Look at that. I mean, coming down the line. Wonderful shot. Oh, yeah, and she's one of the 3 All-Americans that Kansas has on their squad. So I know that Anise Havili gets a lot of praise, Kelsey Payne, but, man, Madison Rigdon just does every aspect of the game.
Rigdon with a nice serve gives Kansas an opportunity. Havili up to Cheadle. Dug out by Skinner. Too strong from Leah Edmond.
And much like they utilized Kelsey Payne on the back row for the Jayhawks, that's Leah Edmond coming from that right back position. An area and an aspect of the game that she's shown a lot of improvement and growth from that freshman year to the sophomore season.
Gabby Curry for the Wildcats. Too far for Havili. Able to save it. Cheadle got a hand on that one. Rigdon from the back row. Nice angle there from Avery Skinner.
And Skinner, one of those true freshmen, a wonderful recruiting class for the Wildcats, and she just brings so much power. Look at that cross body, very sharp cross court attack. Too much to handle.
Overpass. Havili with a nice save. Rigdon swings from the back row. Allie Nelson got a hand on him. Looks like Jada Burse. Cheadle has it blocked off the antenna. Point to Kansas.
The first long rally and the first success goes over to Kansas. So they grind at this point out a little bit. A lot of positive touches at the plane of the net. And then finally it's Cheadle off 1 foot behind the setter. I love how Anise was really just working the Kentucky block side and really antenna to antenna.
Skinner pounds away.
And Skinner had a big smile off that one. She just went up there and hit that one as hard as she could, trying to tool the block, and she had success. Exactly what she was wanting to do.
An impressive freshman. And another one here, Madison Lilly. We saw her in her high school career over in Kansas City at Blue Valley West. Outstanding player.
Over a little overzealous there. Ready to keep this match going. I mean, it's such an early start for Kentucky. They really have not had one area of their game broken down thus far, doing everything they want to on their side of the floor.
The freshman center will serve it up again. Lilly sends it long. So that'll be Havili for Kansas. Down 3 in this opening set. Long. Point to Kansas.
And you got to think, Jada Burst's touch is so high that you almost think, just hit it high enough and you're going to get one of those hands. But it's just that much too high to go sailing out of bounds, but just narrowly missed Jada Burst.
Havili with a nice save. Curry there for the Wildcats. Oh, bang, bang play. I think that ended up off Brooke Morgan.
It went off her hand. Watch this ball ricochet off the block, right off her left arm. She tried to say, no, that was out. not enough poker face there from Morgan. But, wow, that was so fast. Great job from the line official and the up official to keep an eye on that one.
Brooke Morgan this time has no doubt about it.
And Kentucky's, both of their middles are so good off 1 foot on the slide attack, and that's a quick ball out there. Zoe Hill unable to close that block, and she goes attacks that angle.
Jada Burst has it sent back on her side. Well, Kentucky is physical with the net, aren't they?
Yeah, this is a wall. And then just ready, up and ready, and they close the block. No seam to work with for Jada Burst. The set was inside just a hair. You want to see that out, pulled out just a bit.
Really has to track that one down. Payne with a big swing. Play by Hill. Hill mishit it. Play continues. And it'll work. Kansas gets the point.
Well, your first contact can be a little unconventional at sorts, but this ball clearly doesn't come out cleanly. But play goes on, and point to Kansas is that they were grinding through that point. And Zoe actually earlier in that play had a wonderful coverage for her teammates, so give her some credit to have that play continue early on.
Tori Miller with a nice serve, but it's Emily Franklin, the senior, who puts it away. Kentucky maintains its lead at 12-9. And Sale's just long. Kansas within 2. High for Lilly. Kansas takes advantage of the overpass.
Wonderful response from Allie Nelson. The first time she had a service error, and it was in the middle of the net. So much better job from the sophomore, who I think has done such a good job in that libero position.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah, no doubt.
Edmond with a big hit. Too strong for Allie Nelson this time.
Yeah, you got to keep that ball in front of your hip. I mean, if you let that go at all, I mean, Leah Edmond just has so much power. And and you're showing it here. So it just passes that left hip of Allie Nelson. Ball travels out.
Payne. Point goes to Kansas.
And now finally a couple errors on the Wildcat side. We've had 2 net violations, a couple service errors. So,
wow. Big hit that time from Kaz Brown. Allie Nelson stood tall there, but Kaz Brown just bringing it.
How about it? She was there, just couldn't hold on to it enough, but the ball sails out of bounds. There's so much power, and there's so much pop on the ball from so many high-level attackers in this match.
Miss hit there from Leah Edmond. Point to Kansas. The Jayhawks down just 1 now.
She does lead her team from the service ace, so it's a high risk, much like we see from Madison Rigdon, where she can just serve in bunches. So we're going to see now Kansas best server from the service line in Madison Rigdon. Led the Big 12 in service aces last season ago. So back-to-back, but both head coaches know that. I mean, it's a high risk, high reward.
All right. At the break, Kentucky leads at 15-13 in the opening set here from Lawrence between the Wildcats and the Jayhawks on Spectrum Sports.
Every stitch is a part of me. All these shapes and designs express our devotion to craftsmanship. I want people to feel our passion when they touch it and when they drive it. The all-new Mazda CX-5.
First Take, live from Dallas, September 8th at 10 Eastern on ESPN.
The Kansas Jayhawks trailing Kentucky 15-13. It's been Madison Rigdon for the Kansas Jayhawks.
Yeah, and then she's gotten him out of trouble a couple times off of behind the 10-foot line, back row attack, you name it, she has been successful. 5 kills, no errors on 9 attempts, hitting .556. That's incredible. And then here a little push over the net. Everything the Jayhawks needed, she is doing. They just a little bit slow going early on in this first set, but it has been Madison Rigdon, that 6th rotation player who's been steady Eddie.
All right, it's Gabby Curry to serve for Kentucky now, leading 15-13 here in the opening set. Really sends it back to Cheadle. Kayla Cheadle is off to a good start.
And that pass could not be placed any better for Anissa Havili. That was up on a platter for her to have either option. She's live here as a setter, but she could set behind or out to the outside. And that was Cheadle. I mean, that was the most fluid play we've seen from a middle hitter thus far for the Jayhawks.
Off of Kansas and no. Wide from Emily Franklin, so Kansas has drawn it even to 15.
And here we go, and the crowd is just getting a little bit louder now. I mean, this has just been back and forth, and now Kansas is really kind of having a surge right now midway through this first set.
Kansas now with the lead, 16-15.
And this is interesting. They have a 2 freshmen in Skinner on the outside. They're the freshman setter, and then they have the Emily Franklin, the senior middle blocker. But this is an interesting 3 rows right now for the Wildcats. You might see them try to back row attack to Leah Edmond and see where they're going to go. But if they're in system, Madison Lilly might try to bail them out as well.
We talked about this beast of a week for the Kansas Jayhawks, and certainly this is a headline in anybody's schedule when you take on Kentucky. But boy, next weekend is going to really be tough when Belmont, as you mentioned,
they go to the tournament often. Yeah,
possible conference champion there. Purdue, always strong in the Big Ten in the top 25, and Creighton, who knocked off this Kentucky team in straight sets.
And they're ranked 7th in the country. I think they could even rise and maybe go to 6th this week in the polls, in the upcoming polls. So Actually, I think they were just released, so they're in a top 10 team, right? Purdue is a top 25 team, no doubt. Belmont is one of those teams, those mid-major teams that just always play so fierce and tenacious, especially on the defensive end. They have some local girls coming back to the Kansas City area, so that'll be a fun one. So, wow, what a week ahead. But this is, look no further than this match. When I talked to Coach B earlier today, he's like, well, we're going to know where we're at, right? And he goes, either way, this week is going to, say a lot. Before we go into conference play, I mean, this is a week that we looked at before the season started that said, hey, these are some top teams. All these teams could be in the NCAA tournament later this season.
And he really wanted to up his non-conference schedule to really test his team, and they'll certainly be put to the test here over the next 6 days. Addie Berry serves it up. Lily goes outside, and that's Avery Skinner.
And Skinner had a little bit more time to work with on that play, and I love the push out and then also the placement for her in that deep portion of the floor.
Lily to serve.
A pair of service errors for Madison Lily. The first time she was on the service line, it was sailed out of bounds, and then this time clips the top of the net. But she is one of those servers that can provide a lot of problems for opponents. Now both setters
will return the favor. Maybe just a little bit of coming back home nerves for Lily.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I think she's such a competitor. I think she's up to the challenge. She's played at such high-level volleyball. I mean, she's in the USA programs and a lot of international experience. But yeah, you're pretty close to where home is, and probably has to be fun for her.
Kelsey Payne puts it away for Kansas, and now Kansas trying to get their All-American on board.
Yeah, get her going. She said, hey, nice pass, nice set, that constant communication from that senior. And look at how high that is, that touch point up above everyone else. Just goes to show you the level at which Kelsey Payne can rise.
That's for Tori Miller to serve. Kansas will get an opportunity here. Really sets it for Payne, and that's good.
And that maybe looked like a free ball, but that was a difficult ball for Allie Nelson to pick up. So give her some credit. I mean, that ball really dropped. And even said credit, too, to Havili to bring that ball back up high enough, and then where Kelsey Payne can just go up and just put that right in that corner. Another good
nice
ball.
Deep serve. Edmond, did it touch a hand?
Yeah, no. We might have
KU.
No, we're going to have a timeout. Coach Skinner. She went after it, barely missed. Look how high Zoe Hill was flying up there. Just barely missed that hand.
Right next to Payne. That's saying something when you can reach that height, huh?
It is, and I love that aggressiveness, man. Leah Edmond was going after it, but, man, Kansas has really just settled into this first set. Little shaky early going, but look, another great look at this. You can't get a better look than that, and I don't see a touch on that. I mean, it would have to be a fingernail, but definitely not clear and convincing evidence to challenge that or overturn that.
What has Kansas done now to flip the tide, if you will, and take the lead here in this first set?
Yeah, it's ball control, right? I mean, they have been a much better job of that first contact. And then also just they're forcing some errors on the Kentucky side, where Kentucky was playing very clean volleyball early going. They've had a couple service errors. They had a couple, attacking errors. And then Kansas has just really weathered the storm and gotten to a good rhythm. And I love that play where they had Cheadle on the slide. I think that was on point. Really, truly, a very fluid play for them. So we'll see if they can come. This point, I think, is really important, though. I know Kansas has now a 3-point lead, their biggest lead in this set. I think this is really big. And Coach Broussard said their first weekend out, they had a wonderful time with this rotation with Tori Miller serving. This last weekend, not as successful, but this has been a very good rotation for Kansas in the early going.
Tori Miller has served well. Dig there. And a great effort from Havili to go into the Kansas bench, but it'll be points at Kentucky.
I think Allie Nelson maybe fell down in that play, and man, that was asking a lot for Anissa Havili to travel that far on the play. Good positive touch from Tori Miller, just couldn't control it enough.
Now Kentucky down 2. Really up high.
And the ball control, I mean, that play from Allie Nelson, it all started with that sophomore libero. I mean, up high for Zoe Hill. And And we talk about her. It looks like she is on a trampoline when she jumps. I'm not even joking. It looks like there's a springboard underneath Zoe's little feet, and she just flies up into the air. She's such a fun, athletic player to watch.
Allie Nelson puts it in play. Off Rigdon. Nice effort there from Allie Nelson, but it'll be point to Kentucky. Payne. You start to see the rhythm now coming to the Kansas offense.
And I love watching Payne because whenever it seems like every single match when it gets late into a set, she just jumps a little bit higher and she gets a little bit harder. And that's at another level than what other players can play at. I mean, she has that sheer athleticism.
Allie Nelson with a nice dig. Rigdon, off the hands, point to Kansas. The Jayhawks 2 points away from this opening set.
Well, she remains airless, Madison Rigdon. How about this pickup from Allie Nelson? Quick out to Madison Rigdon, and she saw just enough angle, high hands, 6 kills, no errors.
Payne puts it in the net. Kentucky down 23-20. Leah Edmond will serve.
And Leah Edmond is traditionally a jump server with a top spin. When she goes with a jump float, she can go back and forth, right? That time she chose to go with a jump float, but in the net. So that has been a problem for Kentucky in this set, or the service line, are those service errors. They have 5 of them to 1 service ace.
Set points now for Kansas. Rigdon serves. Sock to Avery Skinner, who saves one of those set points.
Woo! That was freshman to freshman, Wildcat fans. I mean, that was just bouncing a ball. Sharp, cross court.
Really has to play it over the right hand. Skinner now. Really back over to Burse. Wildcats able to save it. Chance for Kansas. Navili wants Burse again. Lilly sends it out to Skinner. And the freshman connection works again for Kentucky, the second set point save.
Well, she had success on that, but how about the defensive prowess from the Wildcats on that play? I mean, there was a couple hard hits that they controlled. And that cross court, very sharp angle, has been successful. Now we're going to see Kelsey Payne go out, the crowd on their feet, as they've seen Kentucky just fight. They don't want to let this first set go. The primary passing right now for Kansas, they need to be in system. They have 2 hitters live right now.
Jada Burse sees it come back right at her, and Kentucky has saved 3 set points now, and Ray Bouchard wants a timeout. Kentucky has stood up to the challenge.
Well, this is what you're going to get. I mean, you have a very physical team, and now you think, do we move some players around? Do we just give Jada a higher ball to work with on the outside pin? You also have Cheadle available. Anissa Havili is a live setter right now on the front row, so 2 live attackers. They just subbed Kelsey Payne out of the game, so now we talk about options and play, but first things first, you need to be in system and have an in-system pass.
And that's really what brought Kansas into this, this opening set, wasn't it?
Yeah, and one of the points that Kentucky was able to save is the pass was too tight to the net, so Anissa had to just dump it softly over with not a lot of authority. So that first contact is crucial, no doubt. And right now you're looking, I mean, this is such a big point right now for Kansas to gain this one and just close this first set. You got to think, though, I mean, you have a 3-point lead. That doesn't mean much when you're playing a top 13, you know, in the top 25, a powerhouse in Kentucky. A team that is going to fight to try to win the SEC. They were second in those rankings last season, and Kansas, the defending Big 12 champions.
We talked about maybe fatigue setting in for both of these teams. Kentucky coming off a big weekend up in Nebraska, the Kansas Jayhawks at the Wolverine Invitational. So both teams have played a lot of volleyball here in the last 4 days. But I got to think the adrenaline's flowing when you see one or the other on the other side of the net. All right, Gabby Curry serves it up. Still down 1. Their 4th set point to face. Avili with a nice joust. And it's opening set to Kansas. Anise Avili powers her way across the net. And the Jayhawks take it 25-23.
How about this from your All-American? You go up and you go